guys, it's me, Mrs. Main, here for the last act of Henry V. Whew, we've come such a long way. The fifth act of Henry V starts the way every single act does, with the chorus. And it does that thing, like in Star Wars, where there's that scrolly screen, and it's like, this is what happened on the last episode, and it's like, dun, 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 dun. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Full disclosure, Star Wars is not my fandom. I know I've messed some things up. Don't email me and tell me what I've messed up. I know I've messed some things up. Anyway, the prologue says that Henry, victorious at Agincourt, returned to Calais, which is a port city in France, and then back to England, where like everyone is so happy to see him. The women and the children were happy to have their men back, and they're like, "We love you, Henry V. You're the best king ever." The crowd goes wild. And then after a while, he comes back to France. And so the chorus asks us to imagine all this has happened, and imagine some time has passed, and imagine everyone's really proud of Henry V, and he comes back to France. And that's how they set it up. Okay, Act 5, Scene 1. We see our good friends Fluellen and Gower again. Which is nice because when last we left our good friend Fluellen, he'd gotten punched in the face for doing what his king asked him to do. And the guy that did the punching, Michael Williams, got 2 gloves full of gold coins. So that feels unfair. Gower and Fluellen are talking. Gower asks Fluellen why he's still wearing a leek in his hat because it's the 2nd of March. I'll explain that in just a minute. But Fluellen's like, this jerk named Pistol's been giving me some grief, so when he shows up, I'm going to beat him up and then I'm going to make him eat this leek that's in my hat. A leek, by the way, is kind of like a green onion, sort of. So it's like a vegetable, just FYI. And again, I will explain. So Pistol shows up and Fluellen beats him up with a cudgel, which is like a really big stick. And Pistol apologizes for being a jerk and teasing Fluellen about his cultural heritage. He's Welsh, and again, one more time, I'll explain. It'll make sense in just a minute. And then Fluellen forgives him and gives Pistol money so that he can go to the doctor. And everybody agrees that even if you're Welsh, you can still be a good guy and a good soldier. Okay, so once upon a time, there was this country named Wales underneath England, still on the same island, and it used to be a separate country. But England conquered it in the 1280s, like round about 1280, and they conquered Wales in a bloody and brutal way. The people of Wales were forced to become like part of the English Empire, but they were treated very badly. They were treated like second-class citizens. Welsh people, they have some of their own cultures and their own holidays. They do speak English, although they speak Welsh as well, and they speak it with kind of they have an accent. So if you're English, you can hear when people are Welsh. Also, the name Fluellen is very classically Welsh, the same way Macbeth is clearly a Scottish name. Anyway, so March 1st is St. David's Day, and St. David is the patron saint of Wales. On Henry V's day, they celebrated this by putting leeks in their hats like they were flowers or wearing them. I lived in Wales for a while when I was younger, and St. David's Day is still a big thing. They don't wear leeks usually, although they grow them in pots and they have like leek soup. Daffodils too are a really big part of St. David's Day, so there are leeks and daffodils everywhere, and it's a big deal. So when Pistol was making fun of him, what Pistol was doing was insulting his heritage and implying that because he was Welsh, he was like less of a person and not as good. But Fluellen has been a loyal soldier and a really good, steady captain throughout this whole war. This is Shakespeare's way of just giving us, the audience, a little lecture. Like, hey, Welsh people are also people and they can do good things. This is some leftover cultural politics from like 500 years ago. But just FYI, Fluellen sort of gets a happy ending in that he gets to beat Pistol. Violence is never the answer. I feel obligated to say that. Okay, so the second scene shows Henry V at the French court meeting with the King of France, Charles, and his wife, Isabel. And they're talking about well, they're just hammering out the details of England's victory. So Henry's come with a list of demands of things he wants, and he's decided that he's going to let King Charles keep being the King of France. This sounds generous, but he didn't actually conquer all of France. He just won a really big battle. So he's going to let King Charles be King of France, but he wants to marry King Charles's daughter, Catherine. Then, when Henry and Catherine get married, the children they have will be like heirs to the English and the French throne, which is a really nice compromise for the 15th century. It would not fly today. And then all the king and the queen and everyone step off the stage, and Henry is left on stage with Catherine and with her maid Alice, if you'll recall. And he sets about wooing her, which means he's trying to make her like him. What pretty eyes you have, like your hair's so nice, is that a new dress? Like that. He's mostly doing this in English. He has a few French words. Catherine, remember, has been learning English. Her maid helps translate, and she gets the gist of it. It's sweet and comic, and it's thrown in there to show that Henry's trying to be a nice guy. But Catherine, she knows the score. So when she finally agrees to marry him, she says, it's not actually, I'll marry you, but again, it's not really up to me. That's my dad's decision. Because she's not actually in charge of who she marries. So I guess that's a happy ending. They agree to get married. Well, the men agree that Catherine's going to marry Henry. But they seem like they're okay with it. And that's the end, except not quite. So hang in there. Okay, epilogue. Just like there's a prologue at the beginning of each act, at the end of this play there's an epilogue, where the chorus steps out again and just reminds everybody, this is an English audience, they know what happened, but just wraps things up by reminding everybody that Henry and Catherine had a son, Henry VI. And Henry VI went on to lose France and bring England into a terrible war, and he was just like a super sucky king. Awkward. And then, so after the chorus has brought everybody down by reminding them what happens next in English history, the chorus says, hope you've enjoyed this play. If you have, please like and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. I'm kidding. First of all, I don't know how YouTube works, and second of all, YouTube had not been invented yet. But that's basically the gist of what the chorus does in the epilogue. Hope you liked it. Tell your friends. Come again. Speaking of, I hope you liked this history play. It's really different from the tragedies we've looked at or the comedies we've looked at. And your assignment, just to finish this thing off, is to write me a scene from an imaginary lost Shakespeare history play. So imagine Shakespeare's, I don't know, an immortal vampire or something, and he's kept writing plays about history. Pick a really cool moment in history and pick a scene and pretend you're Shakespeare. Write that scene for me. I've included some examples in this week's assignment. So I wrote a scene from a play about the Wright brothers when they first flew. And I wrote a scene from a play about the Beatles before they hit it big. So just think about some of your favorite moments in history. Savannah, are you thinking Hamilton? Because I'm thinking Hamilton. Or we're living through history right now, guys. What would Shakespeare, what kind of a crazy history would Shakespeare write about the 2020 coronavirus? So think about that and look at the examples, like I said, and have loads and loads of fun with it.